Everybody, this is my video number 5, and based on Adam Galinsky's How to Speak Up for Yourself. I really liked the speaker this week, and I found like there was a lot of things that, like previously, I had already known from business negotiations or being with someone that was more or less in a power position, and hearing Adam talk about it kind of reaffirmed and more or less kind of brought out some of the details that I might have thought in the past. And I guess a couple of my notes. When he talked about helping his brother with a counter offer. First of all, like I feel like that would be such a horrible thing for his brother and himself. To be in that position. But it kind of reminded me. I know I've asked advice from others in the past, and not necessarily gotten the right advice, and adversely either come off too strong or too weak. A couple of things that I really like that he said, and kind of relating it to our writing assignment. But more or less, I feel like knowing your audience, and so there's a range of acceptable behaviors. Sometimes we can come off too weak, or sometimes we can come off too strong. And I feel like kind of knowing your audience and your position, kind of in the social dynamics of wherever that is important to know whether you're going to come off too strong or too weak. One thing I also really like that he talked about is that his example was kind of talking about kids' clothes. But oftentimes I'll do this kind of in business life or with friends. If we're trying to come some type of agreement to something, and it's to give like a couple options. And so a lot of times I like to give three options. We can do A, B, or C. You choose whatever you decide. So it's me coming up with the options, and then they ultimately get determined what those options are for. I do feel like kind of digressing here when they were talking about the diagram for the letter drawn on your forehead, and that you can have one or two perspectives, either the self-focused or the, like, I guess, reflective per se. I feel like that's kind of, I think many of us, possibly have been in a discussion or given a talk on maybe something controversial, but we're not always talking to reasonable people. And so that self-focused, kind of relating that back to the three or four options. Sometimes when we're talking to someone, they're not reasonable people, and so it can be a little bit hard to work through negotiations or topics with people that aren't reasonable or only have their own perspective. I feel like you talked about perspective as well, to kind of put yourself in people's shoes, and much easier said than done, kind of, especially in the heat of the moment. But I felt like that was a really, really good point, and extremely valuable because, the more you can kind of, take a pause, take a beat, kind of put yourself in someone's perspective, I feel like it's a little bit easier to kind of understand and relate to what's going on. There towards the end, a couple other things that I liked is, he said ask for advice. And again, I think it kind of depends on who your audience is and kind of, how you fall in the power dynamics of everything. But I liked his example of him saying, even in his work environment, when he knows someone that is overly powerful is going to come and ask him for questions, he even gets sucked into it. So I feel like that was something great that we can all use in our everyday life. Overall, I really like the guy. I feel like he had some great takeaways.